What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in on Friday the 13th. I've got none other than Mr. Eric Jayk from Wildstreet here with me. What's up, man? How you doing today?
What's up, man? How are you?
Just riding out this wave that everybody else is right now, dealing with the entire industry being shut down, which has led me to have some time to do things like this, where I can talk to some of my music buddies.
Cool, cool. Yeah. Well, it's our first time meeting, so
Yeah.
I guess I can't buy you a drink, but
Yeah, it's funny how we've been working on this music together, and it's a similar situation with Todd, where me and Todd have never been in the same room either, except for one time when he was opening up for Aerosmith, and I was way up in the nosebleeds. But yeah, but thankfully to technology, we can do stuff like this, and it's hell if it wasn't for shit like this, the Monfield record wouldn't even be happening. So got to give thanks to Zoom and Pro Tools and the internet and all that shit. So it's cool.
yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive into this. You're in New York City right now. Are you originally from the city, or did you move there after high school? Or give me a little background on that.
Yeah, well, I grew up in upstate New York, like a kind of a small college town. The town is called New Paltz, and it's
Okay.
like hippie kind of whatever. And then I moved to New York in when I was 18 to go to jazz school to play
Okay.
guitar. But yeah, I've been here ever since. So
Nice. Yeah, I played guitar in jazz band in high school, and I talk about that sometimes where some of the things I learned in that, even though necessarily it's not my style, I would have never stumbled upon myself, and I still kind of incorporate some of that shit to my playing nowadays. So, always useful tools you can be adding into your repertoire.
yeah, totally.
So let's, when you got to New York City, was Wild Street kind of the first thing you started, or were there other projects you were involved in leading up to that?
There was a lot. So like Wild Street didn't come for a minute, I think um so like I was playing like in my own bands, and I started playing professionally, playing in like my my high school band and my middle school band, and we played like bar mitzvahs and weddings when we were like 11, you know what I mean?
Nice.
And so I got to college, and I still had this like band that became an original band that was from high school, but then I started like my own thing kind of towards the end of college, and it was like pop punk kind of. It's kind of like not so awesome, but at the same time I was doing a lot of session work. I was playing with like 10 different bands. I was like I used to walk around the city with my Les Paul on my back and a 100-pound SKB or like anvil pedal board case, like walking from rehearsal to rehearsal, and like I was like, oh, this is normal. This is what every musician. Of course not. Nobody else.
That's great.
They had their one multi-effects pedal that they would bring to rehearsal.
That's great.
And so yeah, so after the Wild Street started after Jimmy, my guitar player, moved to New York, and my like kind of like middle of the road pop punk band was kind of like ending, and so Jimmy joined, and he's like, and I had some new songs, and Jimmy was like, yo, let's just start a new band. I was like, okay. So,
Nice.
So we started writing, and we would party all night, every night, and we would write music until the walk of shame, and we do this all weekend, every weekend, and finally, like after about like a year of writing and rewriting and rearranging, we put together like the first Wild Street four songs off the first EP, and then we eventually finished it, found a whole band, and there's a lot more to this story, but really Wild Street started and never looked back.
Yeah, not to jump back too far, but I know you had messaged me and said that one of the bands you were in high school, John Regan, helped produce.
Yeah.
Which band was that, and do you want to kind of give a background on how that ended up happening?
I don't really remember. We played a battle of bands and we won for some reason. And
Oh, nice.
I literally I played in so many bands. I just don't really remember what it was or where it was and what we ended up getting or what the song was. But it's true story.
That's great.
I'm sure I can find the guys on Facebook who I was in that band with, and they probably remember everything.
That's cool because I mean John Regan, a very accomplished person, so
Yeah.
that's a great experience working with him. So when Wildstreet starts forming, how long is it before you guys kind of have the whole ship running? You know, because I know in 2009 you guys played in Rocklahoma. How did you guys end up scoring that gig?
Well, okay, so we finished the first set of 4 songs in 2006.
Oh
So
wow!
we played 2 pretty big shows in New York with a hired band, right? Because we didn't have band members yet. We started promoting the band, and eventually it took us until 2008 to find a solid lineup. And in that time we had finished the whole album, and it was mixed, it was ready to go. Then like in December of 2008, like my bass player wrote like a 1-line email to the guy who was running a stage at Rocklahoma and said, "Hey, check out Wildstreet." And then he signed us, and we went on a 10.5-week US tour and played
Oh
Rocklahoma
wow!
in 2009. And you know, you make it by touring. So
Yeah, and you guys have done Rocklahoma several times since then, correct?
6 times, yeah.
Okay, wow, that's impressive. And I've seen some of those videos from the earlier Rocklahoma shows, and you know, some fantastic looking crowds at those things
Yeah.
whenever you guys were playing. So congratulations on 6 times at Rocklahoma. That's impressive, no matter which band it is, you know.
It was
Uh,
pretty cool. Like you could see like every year through until like the last time we went, there was like a huge tornado. But like 2009 and 2010, 2011, you see the crowds get bigger and bigger every time. And like if any of you who are on YouTube and bored, you can watch 2013. You can see how many people were there to see us. Which it was really cool.
And that's great, you know, with you guys you guys are more sleaze rock oriented. So getting to play with some of those bands that play at Rocklahoma has to be quite exciting, you know. So kind of touching on that, who were some of the bands that kind of led you into the sleaze rock oriented sound that Wildstreet really is?
Well, to be honest, the first time somebody said that Wildstreet was sleaze rock, I thought they were insulting us.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
I didn't know what that was. So, but now I obviously know what it is. But like basically what Jimmy and I started Wildstreet, and we wanted to make songs that were like, they were the anthems for the stadiums, right? And they were universal, and they made people, they united people and made people want to like, happy and energetic and ready to rock, and that's what we were trying to do. There was so much like whiny emo music on it, like, all over at that, especially at that period.
Yeah, I remember that time period very much. Yeah.
And so like it was totally a response to that. And part of Wildstreet is disguising some like kind of like musically intelligent things and making them sound really easy. So and that's that, I think that's
Yeah, and I can definitely hear that in your guys' newest single, "Still Love You." It's a very well composed song, and when most people think of rock and roll, they just kind of think of it as like meat and potatoes. But dude, there's some great songwriting in that, so I have to give you guys congratulations on that tune. And kind of touching on that, that's an older tune, correct? That had been lying around for a while that you guys decided to bring back. So kind of walk me through the decision, to bring that song back out into the fold.
Well, even when Jimmy wasn't in Wildstreet, there was a period he left the band for a while because he was doing in like an off-Broadway show or
Oh, nice.
a rock musical that he wrote, and it was so
Oh, wow.
he was on like the cover of like New York Times arts page, art section, whatever. It was
Wow.
it was really awesome. Okay, but even after he left, we were still writing all the time. Like anytime we had a day off, we would get together and write. And so we had a lot of really great songs and a lot of really bad songs. Let's be honest, just like any other band. But Still Love You was one of the songs that we knew that it was good. So we kept that one, and some of the other ones maybe not.
Yeah, and it's always fun, you know, when you kind of rediscover some of your older material. It kind of happened on this new Minefield record where, ironically enough, these first two singles, Alone Together and Home, the main riffs for those I wrote when I was like 16. So they've been lying around for almost a decade now. And fortunately, I never used them because, you know, Todd and the boys turned them into better songs than I ever could have on my own. So, yeah, I definitely enjoy bringing back some of the older material like that. So I can relate to, you know, digging into the archives a little bit. So there hasn't been a full Wild Street album in a couple years, but you guys have been killing it with your single game with songs like Born to Be and Tennessee Cocaine. So kind of talk me through the decision to go in and do a full album this time instead of just releasing singles when you guys were doing amazing work with just doing that.
Well, we wanted to have like an album as the artistic statement, right? The releasing singles is more just adapting to the modern way you promote music.
Right.
But yeah, it was, you know, we set out to record a band record, and that's what it is. You know, it's Wild Street, you know. And I think that I think there are aspects of the record that'll be very familiar. Like Tennessee Cocaine is very familiar to Wild Street fans, but maybe when you hear the record, there'll be more stuff that's not so familiar.
And, you know, it's always good to be growing as a band in your sound the entire time you're playing because, you know, some bands kind of stick to a certain formula and that works for them. But artistically, sometimes you got to kind of keep the train rolling, you know, and it's as much as you talk about, you know, you have to adapt to certain times, there's still stuff that you have to fulfill internally, artistically, you know, and so that makes a lot of sense, you know, going in and wanting to make the full album the artistic statement. That's very well said on that. So working with Golden Robot, what made you guys decide to reach out to a label instead of, you know, because you guys have a really big fan base. I would assume that you could have just released this on your own, but talk to me about the idea of reaching out to a label and, you know, that whole situation.
Well, basically we held out till we found the right label. Like, we wanted a label since you know, before we even released any of the songs on any of the singles from Wildstreet III, but there didn't seem to be like the right people to get involved, and so we just kept on releasing stuff and getting our tours together, getting our business together, getting the band better and bigger, right? And so, you know, it was, you know, working with you and you mentioning Golden Robot that led me to write to Mark to begin with, you know. So thank you.
Hey, no problem. It's, you know, it's kind of coming full circle because the reason that I reached out to Golden Robot was kind of a similar situation. I had thought about, you know, just releasing this on my own, hiring a publicist, because you can do that nowadays, thankful to technology. And I asked Matt Starr one day from Mr. Big and Ace's band, who's playing drums on this record. I was like, hey, man, do you think it'd be worth, you know, just reaching out to some labels and fielding some offers? Because, you know, you don't have to take any of them, but it's at least worth hearing what these people can do for you. And ironically enough, Golden Robot was the first label that I reached out to that Matt had recommended. And, you know, it just kind of worked from talking to Mark and everybody. You kind of get some freedoms that you necessarily wouldn't get with other labels. And it's a very hands-on experience instead of being signed to like a conglomerate, like say Sony, for instance. And I don't know how they work. I've never been signed to them, but just using them as an example, you might not get the 10-second text back that you might get from working with Golden Robot, to where, you know, there's a billion other bands on the roster that they're all trying to take care of at once. So that was a big point for me. It was kind of the hands-on freedom that you had with Golden Robot.
Yeah.
So going back to Still Love You, most bands it would seem a little unconventional to release the more ballad type song. And I say ballad lightly because like I said, there's some very nice songwriting aspects in this song. And when it gets to the chorus, it's a very rocking chorus, and I love the contrastal difference between the verse and the chorus on this song. So what was really the decision to release this one as the first single?
Well, technically it's the fourth single.
Yeah, well, I meant
But,
with Golden Robot. Yeah, I
but
should have worded that a little better.
because I think this is ballads are not rock songs. Ballads are universal. Ballads, like people who don't like rock music love ballads, right? Because
Right.
melody, because it sounds good, and I think that it was just the right time. The holidays are coming. People need something that makes them feel good. So I think "Still Love You" was the right choice.
Yeah, and like I said, there's some great songwriting aspects that kind of, like you said, relate universally to where it can kind of fit into any situation where music is being played and it can be appreciated. And that's a testament to just good songwriting. Good songs will always be good songs no matter where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So how long has the current lineup of the band been together? Because I know you just touched on you guys kind of had hired guns back like 12, 13 years ago whenever you first started. So how long has this current lineup of Wildstreet been together?
Since 2017.
Okay.
So yeah, and we're a band. Everybody's important, and everybody's a part of Wildstreet. So,
Nice.
but yeah, the COVID has been really hard. Like because the guys we've all been spread out everywhere, and the only time I really got to see everybody in one place, or we all got to hang out, was the music video shoot and the live stream concert. And so, but good news is there's the internet, and there's means to still communicate and share ideas and play music. And when we get together, and when we're allowed to get together, we're gonna rock out.
Of course. And I know you guys were trying to play some shows over the summer that ended up not happening and everything. So, I mean, I think all of us are really dying to get out on the road, but it's a situation where we want everybody to feel comfortable and all that. So we're just trying to stay mindful. And, I think if we didn't have means like Zoom and all these things, this would be a whole lot different situation. I would personally be going quite crazy if I couldn't even connect like this with people. So I know that you give guitar lessons and vocal lessons as well. Is that something that you've always done, or did you kind of dive into that more, with the whole COVID situation and having some more free time on your hands?
I didn't dive into it more this year, but I did change to not doing any more in-person lessons. But
Okay.
yeah, listen, I teach a lot of subjects, man. I teach like voice, I teach guitar, I teach music recording, I teach performance coaching, anything you can think of, ear training, like
Nice.
but like mostly it ends up being a lot of like singers and stuff. And I teach group classes too, and the company I work for is called Take Lessons, and I think I've taught 11,000 lessons in 7 years.
Oh, wow. That's really impressive. Congratulations on that.
It's crazy, but it's cool. Like the one thing about teaching is you start to understand your instruments a little bit better. So I like that, and you end up having to learn a lot of songs that you probably would not learn otherwise.
Yeah, and that kind of ties in with what I was saying about, the whole jazz band situation. Regardless if it's really your forte, a good musician will always find ways to incorporate stuff into their repertoire that just makes you grow. So, I think that's kind of a testament to your musicianship, and, that's quite a feat. It was, would you say 11,000 classes in 7 years?
Yeah.
There's guys that do that, that's their whole gig and they don't do it that much. So, you obviously have people wanting to work with you. So that's good. Congratulations on that. I don't want to take up too much of your time today. So when can we expect some more music coming from Golden Robot? I know you have the full version of Still Love You coming out next week, actually, right?
Yep, day after your song.
Oh, nice. Cool. So everybody will be getting some good music on back-to-back days. And the music video will be released that day as well, correct?
Yes, yes. So the 17th on Tuesday, Still Love You, the full version. The only difference between the full version and the radio edit is there's a lot more guitar solo.
Nice. And, you know, I'll never complain about more guitar work on a track.
Yeah, like there's a middle guitar solo and the end solo is extended. But the music video is awesome. I think everybody should go and watch this video because it's the best that we've done. You know, I think it's really good, and we didn't have to use any strippers this time.
Well, nice. You know, that can be a good or a bad thing depending on which way you look at it. Financially, it might be a good thing. Self-esteem level, it might not be such a good thing. So who knows? So you talk about producing a little. Are you the one producing all this music for Wildstreet, mixing and mastering it, or do you have a guy that you're working with?
Well, for Wildstreet III, we worked with a friend of ours. His name is Kyle Pass, and he did the recording and production. A longtime friend of mine, John Kaplan, mixed the album, and Howie Weinberg mastered. So it's like we've always had like we have like a certain group of friends, and they work with us, but so far.
Well, nice. Dude, I appreciate you so much coming on here and giving me some of your time for doing this. Everybody, if you're listening on the audio, definitely go check out Wildstreet's full version of Still Love You coming out next week, along with the music video on Golden Robot Records. Do we have a timeline for when the album might actually come out?
Let's just say it's coming soon.
All right, good enough. You know, keep people on the edge of their seat. And I'm loving the music that I've heard so far. Like I said, some great songwriting on Still Love You. Looking forward to seeing the video. From all the pictures you guys have posted and the small clips, it looks great. The production looks awesome on it. So looking very much forward to seeing that. Everybody, thank y'all for tuning in today on Friday the 13th. Eric will go ahead and say bye off air, but we'll go ahead and end the recording. Thanks, everybody, for listening today.